We're going to go ahead and move on now to terrorism and how a CERT members respond to terrorism. A good key thing to remember is what we talked about before. If it is an act of terrorism, CERT members are to evacuate and go. You are not to actually respond to a terroristic event. For the simple fact it's like it's a bombing, there could be more bombs, things like that. But we are going to go over the basics of terrorism and what terrorism is and ways you can help without responding.
How would you know that right away? Like at that, Chad was talking about that gas leak, that bad gas leak that we had at South. It probably was like 30 seconds away from plowing, you know? Because I mean, that would have looked like the whole building was filled up with gas. That would have looked like
Just a good assess what has happened with yourself and what you've seen, and then you can make the decision. Hey, this might be terroristic. This might be bombs. You know.
This relates to the other thing we were just talking about. That would affect also, I feel like, I don't know, like what we would do with the, so if the building blew up, right, and we show up and there's a bunch of dead people in there, but it wasn't a gas explosion, but a terrorist act, then that makes sense. If we move the bodies, then we move evidence. It's arguably not in the same.
Yeah. if it's
okay, wouldn't have
you
gone.
know, if it's an explosion,
It's weight.
wait. Yeah.
So you gotta show them.
Because more than likely an explosion of that nature, first responders and EMTs are going to be on their way right now. It's not like terrorism's not like a natural disaster where we could be severely overwhelmed. Unless there's multiple attacks all over town,
Yeah.
then more than likely we're going to have police, fire, everybody on scene.
Okay.
All right. The unit objectives here, we're going to define terrorism. What exactly is terrorism? Identify the potential targets in a community. Identify the 8 signs of terrorism. Identify the CERT's operating procedures for a terroristic incident. And describe the actions to take following a suspected terrorist incident. Unit topics. What is terrorism? Terrorist tactics, obviously we just said that. Types of weapons that terrorists like to use. The CBRNE indicators. Preparing at home, work, and in your neighborhood for a terroristic incident. And CERTs and terror incidents. What is terrorism? Terrorism is the unlawful use or force of violence against a person or property to intimidate, coerce a government, the civilian population, or any segment thereof in furtherance of a political or social objective. Terrorism in the past, obviously, the 9/11 incident we have right here, and then Oklahoma City bombings. These are done by 2 different types of groups. The World Trade Center, obviously, as we know, Al-Qaeda, that is a foreign, what we consider foreign terrorism. The Oklahoma City bombing, Timothy McVeigh, he was part of a extremist militia out of northwest Arkansas, and that is what we call domestic terrorism. Pretty simple to not remember that. They're here, they're domestic, it's from overseas. Terroristic goals. Mass casualties. Terrorists want to get as many casualties as possible. That's their goal in a situation like this. Loss of critical resources. Disruption of vital services. And disruption of the economy. And in heightened fear. Obviously, we've seen before when terrorists attack, our economy kind of freaks out because people stop going out, stop going to ball games, and stop flying. And things take an economic toll when people stop buying, stop spending their money. And that happens a lot in terroristic. And heightened fear. Every time something happens, every time a terrorist attack happens, people get scared. They get scared it's going to happen again, and it's going to happen to them. Targets of terrorism, obviously government, seats of government, so government buildings. Things like the Capitol, any type of government workplace, those are going to be big targets. Key industries, if you have places that are like really big companies, really big factories, those can be key targets for terrorism. Bridges, tunnels, and other key transportations would be terroristic targets. That kind of destroys infrastructure when you just take out people's transportation. Water supplies and utilities. If terrorists came and took out all of our electricity, a lot of us would be screwed in the long run because people are going to start freaking out. You take out people's utilities, they don't have clean water to drink, people are going to start mentally freaking out, and then you've got where the terrorists have hurt us, now people are going to start freaking out, looting, and just going a little crazy. Terroristic weapons, we said that acronym earlier, CBRNE. Stands for chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and high-yield explosives. These are the different types of weapons that terrorists like to use. Chemical weapons, blister agents, blood agents, choking agents, nerve agents, and riot control agents. A lot of these are going to be gases. A pepper spray would be a type of chemical weapon. Nerve gas. Any type of gas material that can get in your body and cause harm to you, it would be a chemical weapon. Dirty bombs. People were always worried about, remember anthrax. I was really worried about anthrax after 9/11 getting sent out and mailed. That would be a chemical agent. Biological weapons. Things that are going to be exposed to you by inhalation, ingestion, or absorption. So you're either going to, mass food poisonings, poison air, like they've put in toxins in the air, and it might not be deadly at the moment, but it's going to cause long-term health issues with people. Or absorption. You touch things, and it soaks through your skin. There's a lot of chemicals you don't even know you've touched, but it soaks in, and it will cause mass internal problems. Radiological, I'm having a hard time saying that. Teachers, please help me with that word. Am I saying it right?
Radiological.
Yeah, okay. They're considered the higher threat because the components are easy to obtain. A lot of these weapons, right, like stuff like this, you can go down to the Dollar General and make your own weapons. I teach a active shooter and response to counterterrorism class for law enforcement, and things that we look for, when kids come in and start shooting up schools, they can go down to Dollar General and you get some, ammonia and bleach. You mix it together and throw it in a room. Well, that starts making a gas right there. There's all types of things that you can use at a basic store that can create bombs or anything like that is very easily accessible. Nuclear weapons. Perhaps destructive force from a nuclear reaction. Obviously, nuclear bombs. That's going to be what you're going to be thinking of there. There's a nuclear attack. A lot of times you see in movies, these terrorist groups are trying to get a hold of this nuclear missile. Now that stuff really happens. I mean, it's not just in the movies. That stuff it really happens, and it could be potentially real threats to worry about. Sorry, I'm scared you. That stuff is something to think about. The effects of a nuclear weapon are long-term effects. They're difficult to monitor. Sometimes people can be exposed to nuclear radiation, and you don't know the cancers and the problems it's caused until years down the line. I've known a lot of people that have worked in nuclear plants, and just the mild exposure they've gotten from working inside them causes cancers and different things. Just imagine if it was used as a bomb and spread to more people over a higher dosage. High yield explosives. These are going to be the most common types of weapons used by the terrorists. 80% of attacks are used by high yield explosives. Military munitions, they're like grenades, mortars, surface-to-air missiles, things like that, rocket launchers. Newer explosives called improvised explosives, or IEDs. You hear a lot of that with people getting hit by those in Afghanistan and Iraq. People running over These are going to be to destroy, disfigure, maybe just harass if it's just a smaller grenade or something. But they're there to cause damage, and they're going to do damage. Assessing the risk. Types of terrorist weapons in order for greatest, pretty much, your greatest risk of higher damage would be a nuclear. Then you go to chemical, radiological, biological, and then the high energy explosives. Obviously, these right here, the high end explosives, are done more often, once again, because it's easier to get your hands on. Think of like the Boston Marathon bomb. That was just a crock pot with a bunch of screws and nuts and bolts put together that created an explosive. Like I was saying, you can get your hands on high yield explosives at Best Buy, at Bass Pro Shop. I meant to say Bass Pro Shop, not Best Buy.
That's not all
I
that.
was just that's with me. I don't go to Best Buy.
Well, you could, because if you think about all the electronic batteries and stuff. Yeah.
Radio Shack.
Look at the culinary school.
I want y'all to, like, next time y'all go out to like Dollar General or things like that, I want y'all to look around, like, especially the chemical aisles, like what all's out there. I mean, if you could think
Yeah, and then
about-
we'll get on a no-fly list because we're phasing out the.
No, I didn't say go buy a bunch of stuff. I didn't say go buy all the stuff and do this at home.
Go in the
No.
backyard and practice.
Teaching y'all how to do bombs.
Yeah, don't suggest that to my husband.
Well, good way to, the best way to do it. Because I tell the police officers I teach my class, especially if they're like chiefs or higher up, go to your local stores and see what's near, especially if it's near a school. I mean, we're a school here, so we have to worry about, if that horrific day, if anything was to ever happen, someone come in shooting or causing something like that. You might want to go to some of these stores around here and see what is there. Just a thing. I see a kid coming in with a bag full of cleaning stuff. That kid was mad at class yesterday. He's not coming to clean. Just things to think about. 8 signs of terrorism. Surveillance. They're going to be scoping out and plotting the best place for them to hit. They're going to learn the routines of everybody in that building. How many times the police come by that building, when the police come by that building. Just surveillance of every daily routine and activity in that building, so they know when the perfect time to attack will be. My brain is messed up here. Somebody please pronounce this word for me.
Elicitation.
Elicitation.
It's like solicitation.
Let me get the exact definition for you.
They're asking for information.
Does anybody have that in their
Yeah,
book?
they're asking for information
Good
for
job.
Okay.
information gathered.
I don't know why they couldn't just put something simple as gathering information.
You need to write them back and tell them to talk in normal language.
Yes.
We need to elicit them.
Terms.
To talk.
Yeah, they're going to be,
No, we need to solicit them.
people are going to be, it might be a group of people, and they're going to try to blend in a little bit. They're going to gather information. They're going to come up and they're going to ask, hey, what time are classes here? What time are meetings here? What is your highest, what time of days do you have the highest amount of people here? They're going to ask simple things that sometimes might seem harmless, but it's going to go a long way in their plan. They're going to test for security. They might do some smaller things like just have people go in with a gun in their pocket to see if they can make it through the metal detectors. Little bitty things just to test the security of the infrastructure of the building to know what they can get away with easiest. They're going to be funding. They're going to have funding. They're going to have money somewhere. If it's a terrorist organization, if it's self-funding, they're going to have a way of funding the attack they want to do. Acquiring supplies. Once again, like I tell you, to go around and look at some of these stores that we have around here and what kind of supplies you think you could see in there for these kind of things. Because they're going to try and get supplies from their local area. I mean, if it's going to be a big attack, obviously they're going to try to ship in their supplies or get it in illegally somehow. But smaller attacks, they're going to look at local stores and see what they can gather to get. Impersonations or suspicious people. You know, obviously you can tell if somebody doesn't look like they belong there. They're acting funny. They're acting suspicious. You know, if you see somebody that's acting suspicious, acting strange, pretending to be a police officer, pretending to be some kind of official, you know, don't hesitate to call the cops and let them come deal with the person. Even if it really is a government official, better safe than sorry. Because when they are impersonating people, that's one of the ways they're going to be gathering information and also testing what they can do. There's going to be rehearsals and dry runs. They're going to go through the process of what they're going to do beforehand. And then step 8, deployment. Obviously, that's when they actually make the initial attack. Attacks has occurred or is underway. You see vapor clouds or mist. You know, we're sitting here in class right now, and all of a sudden, there's some crazy vapors coming through these vents. More than likely, there's something happening. Somebody's put some chemicals up there to harm us. Unscheduled spraying. You ever thought about, like, you know?
Mosquito truck?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you come up with all
That's
that.
an easy way to
Even
think
the
about it.
bug guy that comes in and does the contract here.
Yeah, what if all of a sudden you see one day it's not the bug guy that we've normally got
There's not one
contracted?
scheduled, like Rebecca knows when they're coming into our
Yeah.
area.
Okay, so they came in yesterday and saying,
Oh, I know they did.
let's say they came in yesterday, so people you know, and all of a sudden the next day you've got somebody just randomly coming in, spraying stuff. This time he's wearing a gas mask,
Yeah.
but he still has a T-shirt that says such and such bug control. You know, it's something to look
Yeah,
out for.
gas-
A little
Gaseous
suspicious, yeah.
Yeah. Materials or equipment unusual to the area. You know, if you're in a room that doesn't normally have a bottle of, you know, toxic material in it, and all of a sudden you came in today and you see a big bottle that says hazardous material on it, you're like, this is a little out of place. You know, something to think of. Unusual odors or taste. A lot of times you can smell if there's like a gas leak or something just smells a little off. I mean, sometimes things just stink. But if you smell something that kind of triggers a little alert in your brain, you might want to start thinking or reporting. Hey, can you get somebody down here to check this out?
Let's evacuate first.
Yeah.
Rebecca
Yeah.
has spidey senses on things like that.
Does she?
My
She's
sense
always
of
driving me in the
smell.
bathroom looking.
My sense of smell is amazing. It's actually a.
We thought there was drugs in the bathroom one day,
Yeah.
and it was a cleaning
It's
solution
called-
that they
what?
like left behind, but it looked
Real drugs, yeah. Looks like a shit.
Oh, drugs.
So-
What's going on in the bathroom?
I used to have an officer at ATU, and I called him a bloodhound because there would be times that he'd walk by a door and he'd just stop. And I'd be like, what are you doing? He's like, you don't smell that? I'm like, I don't smell anything. He's like, they're doing drugs in here. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? You don't smell anything. And next thing you know, we're knocking on the door, opening the door, and
It hits you in the face.
yeah, boom. I'm like, wow, because they ended up having like blankets and stuff, all stuff that were, I didn't smell anything, but it's, you know, if you got people that can smell, I use your abilities.
I will.
like, I'm gonna tell him.
It's not a good ability because I hate it because I can smell all the bad stuff.
I smoke them
If I smell anything, I'm running. Yeah. I'm very keen sense of smell.
Look for out of place and unattended packages. Things you might want to think of here, backpacks. There's a backpack that's been sitting out in the bistro for 5 hours now, and no one's came back and looked at it. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to call us, and we'll come check it out. So I've had situations before where there have been just boxes. I mean, sometimes there were people moving or something. They just left their boxes of trash in the parking lot, but it's not used to having boxes in the parking lot. And so, gone to. It never hurts to call and be prepared. You know, better safe than sorry.
Not too long ago, in the IT building downstairs, there's a whiteboard when we walk in. Kids started writing on it, some of the students were writing stuff on it. But they had drawn a couple of pictures that said knockout, and knockout game. And then it said all men must die. So, I got one of the officers to check it out, we took pictures. But I also noticed that there was a guy walking around with this big, huge duffel bag. It wasn't just a backpack. This big duffel bag, and he's one of the libraries, he was checking that too, because that's out
I mean,
of place.
that's
for here. We don't
suspicious.
have
That's
it.
out of place.
We're right by the VA too, so a lot of, I mean, in the library especially, a lot of people from the VA come and utilize our.
And then but a
So I
huge
see that
duffel
a lot,
bag
you're
like that
right.
was just
You're exactly
uncommon
right.
for out here.
You're right.
So they did check it out, but I guess nothing came of it.
Well, speaking of VA, I mean, people are in the VA that have severe
Understandable,
mental
that's right. No,
issues.
absolutely.
And what if they've gotten out of there and they came over here?
They also go back in the woods back there, like there's homeless camps. back there.
Yeah.
So they're all
Right.
have detention.
Are they attached?
I know we can bring it check.
Because I did attach to it.
And then leaking packages. Obviously, if you have a package that's delivered that doesn't say keep frozen, and all of a sudden something starts melting or oozing out, that's probably not supposed to be like that, and it's probably not safe. So definitely call and have that checked out. All right, see the indicators of the CBRNE. If you observe any indicators of a terrorist incident, don't touch it. Move away from the object in the area immediately and report it to authorities ASAP. You're not trained to deal with these things. It could be an explosive bomb, it could be a chemical agent. So get away from it, get people you know away from it, and call the authorities ASAP. Physical signs of a chemical or biological attack. Sick or dead animals, fish and birds. I mean, if you have a lake that is a main drinking source for a town, and all of a sudden all the fish and all the animals that have been swimming in that thing turn up dead or with 3 legs, there's probably something in that water. More than likely, if you see a situation like this, it doesn't hurt to contact the government authorities about it, and more than likely it's been noticed already, especially if it's a drinking water type thing. Large number of persons seeking medical attention. You've got a lot of people that have been drinking the tap water, and all of a sudden everybody's coming in with, stomach problems. Their stomachs are just destroyed, or they're all getting some form of stomach cancer. That could be a side effect of whatever chemical or biological water or agent that has been added to the water. Once again, multiple victims having similar symptoms. Casualties without obvious signs of trauma. Everybody's been drinking the water, and all of a sudden they're just dying. It's things have been poisoned. Preparing for home, work, in your neighborhood. Personal and family safety is first priority. We've talked about that many times. The CERT members are not equipped to trained to respond to terrorist incidents. If you're sitting at home and you see that a terrorist attack has happened in the VA, or you're sitting here, that's not a place for CERT to go help. That's for the authorities, and leave it to the authorities. Terrorism incidents scenes, they're crime scenes. Terrorist attacks are a crime scene. That's why we talk about the bodies. You're not going to touch the bodies at all. You're not even going to cover the bodies, because that is a crime scene, and anything touched is destroying the crime scene. Prepare for terrorist activity. The CVRNE events are survivable. A lot of times you can survive these incidents, just depending on how large of a nature it is. Preparing for terrorist incidents, similar to preparing for a natural hazard. If you want, you can go back in, we can review the Unit 1 guidelines on how to prepare your house and your structures for events like bolting down your cabinets and your appliances, things like that. Because what if there's a bomb, an explosive that sends a huge shockwave? You might not be in the initial, threat of the bomb, but the shockwave can come sending earthquake-like tremors through your house. Certain actions are more relevant to the CBRNE. Shelter-in-place procedures. shut off your ventilation systems. If you know that, if you see an alert that says, hey, there's been a chemical agent released in Little Rock by a terrorist attack, shut off all your ventilation systems. Shut off any way that air can be brought from outside in. Go to your shelter, the same shelter that you have in place for tornadoes and other disasters. Use that same room as a safe room for a terrorist attack. Use pre-cut plastic sheetings to cover air openings. Take some plastic tarps or any type of plastic wrap and put it over your vents to make sure nothing continues to seep through there. Just because you close a vent doesn't mean things can't leak through. So just put that extra layer of plastic on it to keep things from coming through. Take sheeting over your doors and windows and vents. Same thing. You want to block out any way possible for the chemical agents to seep into where you're at, your safe room. Use duct tape to seal all other areas. Duct tape fixes everything. And it's a very handy tool when trying to cover up any small little holes or cracks or anything that might be in your safe room. Duct tape them up. If you see a crack on the wall in your safe room, duct tape it. Duct tape it 5 or 6 times. Make sure you feel safe with that crack being sealed. And have a battery-powered radio in that safe room. I think we've talked about that before. But listen to it. Listen for updates on what's going on, what's happening. Has the situation gotten worse? Has it gotten better? Are emergency vehicles out trying to evacuate these things? Listen to that radio. And once all contaminants are gone, once the government has given, or the local authorities have given the all clear that this agent is clear to the air, start ventilating your room, your house. There's a good possibility some of that stuff might have gotten in your vents. Even though you've got your vents blocked, you don't want to open your vents, and that's the first thing that hits you. So try to find a way to ventilate the rooms once all the containment's on. Open up all the windows and doors in there. It's a good way to help you. Protection from radioactive fallout. Go deep inside of a building. Find the innermost part of a building. This can be your best bet that radioactive material is not going to make its way through there. Some parts of it will, but find a way to shield yourself in the deepest part of a room or the building. Stay inside. Once again, you're using the building as your shield and your protection from the radioactive fallout. If you go outside, that's exposing yourself to harsher elements of that radioactive material. And it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time for the radioactive fallout to blow away. I mean, heck, we've got places like Chernobyl or 3 Mile Island in Pennsylvania where it's still not safe to go. Stay tuned. Once again, have your radios that we talked about just a second ago. Listen for when the authorities say it's safe to come out, or what they want you to do in that situation. Basic decontamination process. Obviously, leave the contaminated area. You can't decontaminate yourself if you stay in the contaminated area. We're good. We're almost done. Take decontamination action. Remove everything. Every piece of clothing that's on your body that is contaminated with the chemical agent, the radioactive material, whatever. Remove it. Burn it. Get rid of it. Wash your hands. Flush your entire body. Wash your body off. Make sure you have good, clean water when you're doing this. You don't want to be using contaminated water. If you have to go resort to washing yourself off using bottles of water, do it. Just make sure the water you're using hasn't been contaminated itself. And you want to blot dry. Just kind of take the towels or whatever you're using to dry and just blot it down. You don't want to rub it in, because sometimes if you've got a towel, it might be a little dry. It might scratch you and you might end up reinfecting yourself. Report for decontamination. A lot of times, the authorities and the government are going to have decontamination stations set up. Go to them, let them. Have you ever seen a decontamination station? They got that big circus-looking tent with people in crazy outfits, scrubbing down everybody. There'll be those set up. Food safety. You want to make sure the food that you have prepared, or if you have it in a safe room or something, it itself has not been contaminated. You're not doing yourself any good by eating food that has been exposed to the chemical agents or the radioactive material. Treating others. First priority for a certain number, obviously, is your own personal safety. Take self-protective measures only. Help yourself and your family. This is not a situation, this is not a time for you to try to give help to others. Do not attempt to treat victims in contaminated areas. If you've got people that have had full-blown exposure to this stuff, don't try to help them. Because more than likely that's going to give you exposure that you don't want. Especially if it's a chemical agent, it's gotten in their blood, you go over to help them and they cough on you. That stuff's gotten in their system and now that cough has exposed you to whatever element that they've been exposed to. And then tell the victims, if you see somebody that has been fully exposed to it, tell them about the decontamination process. Hey, go wash yourself off, get rid of everything you've gone, and then go to a decontamination center. That's your way of helping, is by telling them they can do this and then go to this place. Do not try to help somebody because you're putting yourself and whoever you're with at risk. What professional responders will do? We'll follow the size up steps. We've talked about size up the entire class, and we're going to be doing that as well. What's going on? How bad is the situation? Has it gotten worse? Has it gotten better? What measures are going to be taken to make sure the incident is controlled in a safe manner? And what resources do we have and what resources are needed to help control this incident? Unit summary. Terrorist attack is an immediate to the government and civilian population. It's to help further a political agenda. A lot of times it doesn't seem like a political agenda, but they're all targeted in some kind of political way. Their goals are to create mass casualties, disrupt critical responses, vital services, and the economy, and to cause mass fear. Once again, we talked about the terrorist weapons, CBRNE, chemicals, biological, radiological, nuclear, and the high-yield explosives. Once again, the high-yield explosives will be the most common. 80% of terrorist attacks are used by the high-yield, and it's because they're the most commonly accessed, easiest to access. The protocol for a terrorist incident, terrorism, it's a stop sign. Pretty much plain and simple, CERTs do not respond to a terrorist incident. Simple guidelines. Don't touch, move away from it, and report it to the authorities. All right, homework for pretty much for the homework for today. Like we said, the test will be online on Blackboard at 6 o'clock tonight.
I think you said it's
6:30.
I just read it, sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, sleep.
6:30.
So 6:30 tonight, you have until from then until Sunday at midnight to take the test.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to tell you all the power points are all online as well. Plus, it's an open book test. So use
They're not filled.
Hey, are
you
they,
better not fail.
Are they on the CERT? Where can I find the slides?
The slides,
In your blackboard.
you log onto the portal, then the blackboard over here, and there should be a little search shell in there.
Gotcha.
I can't know that by
I
blackboard.
don't know.
All right. So review that. Take your test online. Monday, we are doing the practicals. So more than likely, it is going to be outside. So wear some comfortable clothing. I know some of y'all have to do things here since summer school started.
9 o'clock?
Yes,
Same
9
thing.
9 to 1, right? And,
On Monday.
so wear some comfortable clothing. And bring your CERT bags. Make sure you have your CERT bags with you because we're going to need those for the practicals. After we get done with the practicals, we have our little luncheon graduation on Friday. I believe that we've got one of the head guys from the Arkansas Department of Emergency Management coming, and gonna just give a little brief talk to y'all. And we're gonna have food, drinks, and then we'll pass out your certificates on Friday. It's been fun teaching you guys. I know I've taught mainly the night classes. This has been a learning experience for me too. This is my actual first full-on CERT class to teach, so it's.
You know, Pulaski Tech baptizes you by fire. so-
Yeah, I know. I got hired. They're like, you teach class next week.
You have survived and done a fine job.
So, thank y'all for allowing me.
We don't need to have some kind of initiation ritual for him.
Looking forward to